This was several years ago, before I moved to a different city. I used to work overnights as a custodian at a high school in a pretty small town. This was the only public high school within like an hour and a half. I got the job after having worked night shifts at a grocery store for a couple of years, and actually really liking it. It was way more chill than any job I'd had. Working at the school was pretty much the same thing. I'd clock in at 8 p.m., so well past when the school was closed, and leave at 4 a.m. I never saw anyone, except for maybe another custodian on the way out as they left at 8. The job itself was simple. You can probably picture exactly how every night went. It would vary slightly, but basically, I'd clean all the floors, reset the classrooms, and do any other basic things to have the school ready for the morning. There was no security. It was just me overnight, and I didn't have any security duties either, because all the doors had those automatic mechanical locks that only opened with a key card and would immediately lock behind you. This night, I came in with coffee in hand and started off like usual. I went down to the janitorial closet in the basement, grabbed the cleaning supplies I needed, then took the large floor broom and went through all the hallways. And I will say, the first few nights were kind of creepy. The only lights that stayed on were the power-saving ones, and they were very dim. So, a lot of the empty corridors were very dark. I could turn on individual lights while I was working if I needed to, but it was always easier to just leave them and not worry about constantly flicking them on and off. Anyway, after sweeping the main hallways, I started resetting the classrooms. Basically just tidying them up, making sure no chairs were missing, grabbing trash, that kind of stuff. Easy but tedious work to go through every single room. I was in maybe the third or fourth classroom down the hall when I swore I heard something on the other side of the school. Thud. It was a metallic thud sound that echoed down the halls. I thought it sounded like one of the metal entrance doors closing. I hurried out of the classroom and into the hallway. It was dead quiet. I walked through the hall to the other side of the school. I looked around, even went up to the doors and opened them to look outside. But I didn't see anything. It's not like I could even tell if a door was what I heard. They automatically locked anyway. I thought, surely if it was an entrance door, an alarm would have gone off, unless it was staff. But in that case, they would have said something or turned on the lights. I brushed it off and went back to the classroom. I was in there for another 10 minutes or so, but while I was cleaning, I had this lingering feeling. It kept making me look back at the classroom door, at that narrow glass window, as if checking if someone was looking at me through it. I never saw anything, though. I finished up, headed out to check the hallways again, and decided to take my first 15-minute break. I was tired, and thought maybe that's why I was hearing things and getting that strange feeling. I went to the staff break room and just sat in a chair, leaning back, resting my eyes. I honestly can't say how long I was there for, no more than 10 minutes, when I heard a sudden thump right next to me. My eyes jolted open. I immediately looked toward the door and saw a figure quickly move away from the window. I swear, I saw a face, and everything just shift out of sight the instant I looked over. I literally jumped up from the chair and stared at the door. I was still sort of dazed because I'd been resting. Not sure if I fell asleep or not, but my mind was definitely relaxed when this all suddenly happened. As I stood there, I didn't hear anything. No footsteps, no doors opening. I started asking myself, did I really see what I thought I saw? Or was it some kind of half-asleep hallucination? I took a second to shake off the chills. Then, I went over and opened the door. The corridor was dark. Nobody was there. I went out into the main hallway, and again, didn't find anyone. I genuinely didn't know what else to do, other than just get back to work. Now, thinking back on this, I remember what I saw pretty clearly. But while I was in the school, I think I tried so hard to convince myself it wasn't real, to the point where I fully believed I hadn't actually seen anything. I spent the next hour resetting the other classrooms, still feeling uneasy, but thinking after I went home and got a good night's rest, I'd probably never think about it again. With all the cleaning done, I headed back down to the basement to fill up the mop bucket. I turned on the water and watched it slowly fill the bucket. And softly, I started to hear something upstairs. Footsteps, walking slowly down the hallway. They were coming closer, walking straight toward the basement door at the top of the stairwell. They came all the way, right up to the doorway. I stared anxiously at the top of the steps, anticipating them walking past or coming down. It was still dark up there, but my eyes were locked. My heart was pounding. I was now almost sure that what I saw earlier was real. Whoever it was up there had stopped just a couple feet from the door, and after about 30 seconds, a figure slowly leaned into the doorway, just enough to look down the stairwell at me. As soon as they saw me looking at them, they quickly shifted out of sight again. And then, I heard footsteps sprinting down the hallway, heading toward the other side of the school. Honestly, it's kind of embarrassing, but I didn't do anything. I didn't move. I didn't run for it. The sudden shock and absolute horror had me completely frozen. I stayed down there, listening and terrified for 2 or 3 full minutes before I finally forced myself to move. I quietly walked up the stairs and looked down the hall. Nothing. It was just as dark, quiet, and empty as it always was. I moved to the end of the hallway, saw the entrance doors, and made a run for it, straight outside to my car. Once I was safe, I called the police. They got there fast, in just a couple minutes, but they didn't find anyone. The school only had a few security cameras, all looking at the entrances and exits, and at no point during the night did they show anyone walking in after me. Someone could have gotten in during the day and hidden, or gotten in a different way. Why they were even there to begin with is still unknown. There are still a lot of things that don't make sense about what happened that night, but having a gut feeling about it, I didn't stay at that job any longer to find out. Even the thought of going back there and working overnight in that school again makes me really uneasy.